Maddie so loved the world that she would sacrifice herself to heal others. But Noah was not Maddie. You see, Noah couldn't find the inner resolve and courage to do something like that. That night, as he was frantically going in circles in his mind, wondering what to do, Michael, one of the innocent little children who desperately needed an organ donor to survive, took his final breath. He died at around 10 p.m. A sudden wave of unbearable guilt washed over Noah. He was in shock, as if he was struck by lightning. He was overcome by guilt, fear, and anger. Noah still had time to save the others. 2 more little angels were still lying in bed, fighting for life. All eyes were on Noah. But how could he? How could he let go of his own daughter? He couldn't even watch Maddie as she took her last few breaths. It was all over. Noah practically took a chunk of his heart and offered it to those kids. He shared his own flesh and blood. But at what price? You want to know what's so crazy about this whole thing? The fact that those kids never even found out. Their parents never even found out. They never got to know that it was Maddie's organs that saved their lives. Up to now, Noah had never taken the Mercury Man seriously. He had never believed anything he had said. He would sit there with Maddie and listen, but he never took him seriously. He thought the man was crazy. But things were different now. Like a madman, he took to the streets, searching everywhere, looking for him. When he finally found him, he rushed toward him, stood in front of him, then leaned over and started screaming, as if he were scolding him. Life had no meaning anymore. He stood there demanding answers. Why did she need to die? Why did she need to die? The Mercury Man already knew what had happened. We come here, why do we die?
I think we die when the reason we came here is either complete or we've treated our body in such a way that it no longer is a vehicle that can support what we're here to do. And so we die for, I would say, a lot of reasons. We can die because we don't take care of ourselves. We can die because we're in an accident. But even then, I think there's some karmic thing going on. I don't know to speak to it in every situation of everyone I've ever known that's died. And there seems to be some limitation to how long the body lives. We're getting longer and longer. There are people around the world that live to be 120. If we can believe biblical times, there might have been people that lived to be longer than that. But I think it's long enough to do the lessons we need to learn. And as Richard Bach said in Jonathan Living Seagull, he said, you know when your work is done when you're no longer here. So if you're still here on the planet, there's more work to do. So I'm more interested in why people don't live during their life than I am interested in why they die.
Tell me this, Noah. When Maddie was alive, every time you looked her in the eyes, what did you see? When you saw and interacted with the Maddie you know, all you saw were effects, not causes. The Maddie you saw and interacted with was just the physical version of Maddie. But Maddie is not just a physical body. she is still Maddie. The forces that had created her physical body have now temporarily parted. But Maddie is still alive. Her essential being lives on life after life. Oh, you are in turmoil because you lost your connection with Maddie on Earth. But Maddie is still Maddie. Maddie is still alive, Noah.
Dr. Rajiv Parthi is a cardiac anesthesiologist and author. He had a near-death experience while undergoing surgery himself. So what was your experience? You also had an experience.
I had an emergency surgery for sepsis of my groin. I had a prostatectomy, then they had to put an artificial sphincter which got infected. So about 20-30 minutes after the near-death experience, when the surgery, I felt my consciousness leave the room. And
So you actually remember leaving the room with your body there on the operating room.
yeah, I was near the ceiling.
And you were watching everybody.
Yeah, I still remember the anesthesiologist tell a dirty joke.
A dirty joke.
Yeah,
And did you confront the anesthesia?
yeah, I did.
And that's what the anesthesiologist had said?
And his explanation was maybe you were light in anesthesia.
How has that changed you? Changed your life?
Oh, my life totally changed. What I eat, drink, what I drive, where I live, my relationship with my wife and kids, everything changed.
Why do we die? Do you know?
You know, the body stops functioning, and for consciousness or soul or essence, you need to have a functioning body.
Dr. Parthi believes that even though your body dies, there's a part of you, an essence, that continues to live on, learn, and grow. You're saying that I have a consciousness that could be separated from this body.
I would say that you are a consciousness,
I
that
am
not
an-
you have a consciousness. Instead of saying that we are bodies that have consciousness, we are consciousnesses that have bodies.
So I'm a consciousness that
Yes.
has a body.
Exactly.
Because I believe, from my own experience of under hypnosis, that when we die, we simply leave this physical form. It's like we were renting this apartment or this rental car, and we get out and we walk between cars, called between lives, and we get another car. And so I'm not afraid of death, and I don't think anyone should be. It's a natural part of the process of, it might be looked at like this, that when a snake is about to grow, it has to molt its skin. This skin that's protected it, this physical form that's been protecting it from the environment, has to slough off and die in order for it to grow. And I think it's probably true for us too. The vehicle served its purpose, and now it's time for a new vehicle.
So the reason we die, you believe, is that the body is actually not functional anymore.
Yeah, disintegrates.
The Maddie you saw with your eyes and touched with your hands was only the physical version of Maddie. The sweet sound of her voice and the baby scent on her skin were nothing but physical qualities of Maddie. Her physical body was just a part of her earthly clothing. Maddie left Earth. She will no longer have that same physical body. But she is still a human being, Noah.
What if, when this body ceases to exist, that seed that makes us aware, makes us be us, continue? And if it continues, what happens to us afterwards?
So you think after your body dies, that consciousness exists and continues?
I think it's logical that it does.
Have you seen others?
Yes, I have seen people who have passed away, but still it's just my word. Now, the challenge is, how do we separate the cases that are real and the cases that are just
Imaginative.
people creating crazy stories? But look,
Because
this-
that is common.
that is
also.
common, and that is the problem. And I think people misinterpret. They get a little bit of that reality that is non-physical, and they completely misinterpret. So when they report, they exaggerate, and they make statements that they could not make only from what they observed. Instead of helping, that creates a problem.
So wait a minute, what do you mean non-physical body? So you're saying that you, as a human being, have a physical body and a non-physical body?
Yes.
What is that
we
non-physical?
Actually have even more than that. We have
But
the
what is-
physical body. We have the non-physical body, also known as the astral body. Then we have the mental body.
So wait a minute, so you have a physical body, a non-physical body that you're calling astral body,
Yes.
and then you're saying there's a mental body.
Yes.
Where did these come from? How come nobody else knows about these things?
Well, they're actually somewhat known. A lot of cultures talk about them. They just have different names for it. When we're between lives, that's what we are. We still have the non-physical body, which travels, actually has multiple lives and uses different bodies throughout multiple lives.
Are you talking about reincarnation?
Yes.
You're saying
So-
we die and then come back again, and then we die and then we come back again? That's what you're talking about?
Yes. So
So-
the non-physical body is the one that remains always the same, but the physical body is the one you could say we trade into.
Like changing clothes.
Every so often, yes.
How do you know that? No one's been to the other side to come back and tell us.
Well, people actually have.
There are
they-
people that have been on the other side and come back and tell us.
Yes. We see that from near-death experiences, from out-of-body experiences, and also we know that we die eventually.
On Earth, human beings are shaped by at least 4 fundamental forces. The cosmic or physical forces, the life force, the soul force, and the mind force. On Mercury, these forces create the physical body, the avatar, the werewolf, and the demigod. Without the cooperation of these forces, you cannot survive on the face of this planet. You need the cooperation of all these forces and all these bodies in order to live a physical life on the surface of this planet. Yes. These bodies are nothing but pieces of clothing, Noah. Maddie has shed some of her clothing, but the true essence of Maddie is still there. Someday soon, you will consciously reunite with her, somewhere beyond the boundaries of this earth.
Why do we die? Do you know?
Well, I think we're supposed to culminate our journey here. I don't think we're supposed to live indefinitely. I
Why
think
not?
there's a time to live and there's a time to die.
Why?
Because I think I don't think you would not have known what the fulfillment of your life until you die. You cannot achieve this closure to this experience called life without dying. It's no different than going to college and at some point graduating and saying, you know, I intended to have achieved this goal, and at some point we have to respect that You're not to be in this game of life forever. We know that from the beginning. And I think nature calls us to die.
So you think dying is a graduation process, and there's more to come after that?
I'm almost sure of that. Nature teaches us that all the time. We go through our seasons. Every life has this seasonal component to it, and then with each spring, there's a new life.
What may seem strange, Noah, is that the two of you will very likely interact again on Earth. Sometime in the future, you will once again interact with each other under different guises, with different clothings and different names.
I think we create these soul contracts before we are born into this lifetime. I think we make agreements with other people that we meet throughout our lives, those who we are going to be connected to, whether they are husbands, children, teachers, and I think they all help us learn these lessons.
In our studies, many times we mention what is called life plan, life mission. So we come here many times with some ideas or projects to fulfill. And many times in relationships, two people could be together, sharing not only the physical part of life, but a common kind of life plan, something bigger to be accomplished.
I believe that we come to what I like to call Earth as Earth School, and that we're all here to learn lessons to get to that next level. And in doing that, I think once we have kind of finished the lessons or whatever we've planned for this particular lifetime, I think a lot of times it's time to go. We choose those times when we're done, we're ready to move on. I believe we move on and then we end up being reincarnated if we choose to come back and continue our education here.
So you believe in reincarnation?
I do, definitely.
You think that there's something in you that actually goes out of the body and then comes back in another body?
Yes. I believe that this is like our vehicle that we use, almost like you would return a rental car to the airport. When you're done with your body, when it's time to die and move on, you return it, you get in the airplane and you go away. You come back, next trip, you land, you jump in another car, and then you're off to explore more lessons.
The question that they've been asking through the ages, why am I here? What is life really all about? And what am I going to bring and what am I going to leave?
We come into this world to grow, to have experiences, to overcome things. That's the reason we come.
I've learned over the years that most of where I come from in my coaching and my working with clients is that it's just a very practical approach. And if you look at it as this lifetime, I can learn as much as I can make the most out of it. That's all part of that mindfulness. And what makes better sense to then think that it's okay if we're gonna die, because we learned a lot. It's just time to move on and we'll be back to do it again.
I believe that. I think we constantly need to be evolving towards the state of learning, and yes, a little discomfort along the way, but that's the evolution. That's the classroom that we're in planet Earth. It's teaching us the lessons, but we have to be open to being a little uncomfortable at times.
Unless you learn to train and transform your demigod, you will not remember her when the two of you shall meet again on Earth. You will continue to come back to Earth over and over again, Noah. Every time you come back, you shall experience life under different conditions, completely different conditions. Every time you come back, your demigod is bound to undergo another treacherous journey. It will grow and gather new experiences. Yes.
I'm not my body. I have a body, but I'm not my body. When I die, that consciousness will continue on, continue to learn, perhaps reincarnate again to learn other lessons. I have had the experience of past life recall of at least 7 different lives. I've been a Tibetan monk, I've been a German doctor, I've been a really bad student of shamanism in an Indian tribe where I was more interested in having fun than learning shamanism. I have been a Moroccan, what would you call it, musician. I have been a Catholic priest. My first experience of past lives was...
So wait a minute, you're saying that there's a physical life, you pass away, and then there's another physical life afterwards. So that consciousness takes on another body.
Well, exactly.
And then while you're dead, in between your one physical life and the next physical life, there's a time of preparation.
There's a time of preparation.
What are you preparing for?
People are preparing for their next life. And sometimes it looks, this process of one life, then this period in between and the other life, looks a little bit like the period between 2 school days, where we go to school, we have some experiences, we learn certain things, but then afterwards we return home, we do the homework, and we prepare ourselves for the next school day.
Death is nothing but a transition, Noah. It's a period of intense activity where your demigod gets a chance to review all the things it has learned during its most recent journey. Yes, it uses this time to reflect and learn from all the challenges, all the setbacks, and all the wins and losses it was forced to experience.
I think the reason we keep reincarnating is unique to each person. I think we're in a school. I think Earth is a school where we're to learn, and then not everyone's learning the same lessons. Some people reincarnate to complete something. Some people reincarnate to learn something they need to learn. I believe, from my reading more than from my experience, but people I trust, is that when we die, there's a council of advisors, mentors, whatever you want to call it, on the other side, who then assess what we've learned in this life, and we get to meet with them. Sometimes we go to school in this other dimension, and then what happens is we get to decide what other things we need to learn that we can best learn in a body. And so we make that choice, we come down. Some children between the ages of 3 and 6, it seems, remember, and then we forget it, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to do the work we need to do. So I think it's about learning to be whatever it is that we're evolving into. And I think it's individual. I don't think it's necessarily one thing, although I think the overarching thing has to do with love at some point.
I did not believe in reincarnation until I had a personal experience. The way that it came about was so important and so profound that I could no longer deny that people are reincarnated and that we do come back life after life.
There are actually even today a lot of studies on confirmed recollections of past lives, also of kids, in which, for example, the kid remembers, I lived in this village.
In the past life.
Exactly, and I had this wife. And when you go to that village, you still find a wife, and sometimes the kid still remembers the other person very well, even though the wife, of course, is seeing a little boy that she just simply doesn't know at all.
We only come here to grow. And if we don't get the lesson, then we'll come back again to experience it in another way.
I think one of the most important things is like when we can see life from a different perspective, in which it's not only what we do here and everything is going to end here, and you kind of feel and know there's more to this life than only our routine and going to a party or something like that. It changes a lot our values. We start giving priority or importance to things that we normally wouldn't. So I would say it perfects our ethics in some way, going beyond what's known in this life. We have principles that are more polished.
How? How does it affect our ethics?
We don't come here to have the white picket fences and the marriages and the dogs. We come into this world to grow. We come in here because we want to experience things. We want to see what it's like to grow past certain things. We come in to experience, to taste, to feel, to have pleasure, to have illness, believe it or not. We come in to experience the contrast and dichotomies.
Because how do we understand ourselves? There are so many things that we want to change, we want to feel better about inside of us, and we want to be different. But no matter how we want, sometimes it's so difficult for us to become who we know we could be. So I think understanding that is a big difference.
That I think it adds to this is the near-death experience. Because many times we see how people change after having one. So they overcome the fear of death, for instance. They become more concerned with the consequences of what they do.
We did not come here to be comfortable. We did not come here to not experience illness and pain. We came here to experience these things so that we would know.
Sometimes we just kind of get lost in the daily life and, we get off track in a way. Sometimes we have to look at our life from the end perspective. Thinking about what are the things we don't want to regret, if we die, and we don't know when that's going to be. It could be tomorrow, it could be in 20 years. Hopefully it's very long. But what is it that we really want to accomplish here? And while we're here, yes.
Sensing that there is a world that is beyond this physical one also gives us, I think, somehow a purpose for this life. Because we need a purpose. And a purpose, I do not mean a task, a mission. I mean, what are we doing here? What is the human part of our humanity? What are important values to us? Because we are a little bit lost. Because we try to be good people, ethical, but if we do not understand the world, maybe we are basing our priorities in the wrong aspects. Maybe we are considering we have good values, but those good values are narrow-minded.
When you realize that you go beyond just simply this physical life, it gives you an idea of what is more temporary and what is more permanent. So people start valuing much more the individuals, the relationships, that are close to them than the material things. We all need certain material things, nothing wrong with prioritizing them to a certain degree, but naturally your priorities change and then you put a lot more effort in the relationships, that are around you, and you value them a lot more.
Money and power, we think that those are the things that are going to make us happy, but in the end game, it really doesn't matter. In fact, when you walk through the gates to heaven or the afterworld or whatever you believe in, they don't ask for your resume or how much influence you have. They want to know how much you've loved and how kind you've been. And part of finding your life purpose is being kind and being loving.
It's about our evolutionary process that we all go through, but most of us aren't even aware we're doing it. So we do always have a choice in how we evolve while we are here. in this life, in this body, in this existence that we're in.
Why am I here on this earth? Am I here for solving problems for corporate America and making a lot of money and feeling very powerful?
Why not?
Well, no, I'm here to love. I'm here to be kind. My grandmother always taught me, and she always taught me in a very physical way. Like when you leave the kitchen, leave it better than you found it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or when you go to a place, leave it better than you found it. Well, we come to this planet, and we need to leave this planet better than we found it.
So we want to do it here in this plane, and not necessarily wait until the reward is, quite a few religions will actually promote that you die and you go to heaven and you get your reward. The reward is here. So we want to share and increase our capacity to love.
And then we find joy, and then we find peace. And that's what we're here to learn in Classroom Earth.
Lessons learned from a disease is a part of this learning process. That's why no magic drug or treatment on Earth will ever replace the lessons learned from a disease. No.
Sometimes even a disease itself as a means by which we can find our purpose, either in dedicating ourselves towards a cure or in realizing that there's only so much time, that we're only here for a short period of time and we're going to make the most of it.
Can we ever find a cure for everything? Is there a day we can say we have found it?
Well,
you thought that was funny.
I hope. I just think that
wait a minute.
Our human experience is to manage the illness and to overcome it on some level. If everything were so easy in life, we would not have a full experience of this thing called life.
So you think there should be diseases that are not curable because through these we experience life.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're telling me.
And we allow our spirit to sort of move through that with a sense of grace rather than sort of being everything being taken care of for you.
Okay.
I don't see life being a value when you're not challenging people to get to a better version of themselves.
Once the demigod absorbs all these lessons, it's time to plan for the next life and the next challenges that could potentially be overcome on Earth. Every time you come and go, you complete a short life cycle. Cycle after cycle, your essential being grows as it develops on its journey to perfection.
As a way of improving, of getting more maturity, we have to follow this model that we had past lives and past experiences, not only here in this physical world, but also in the period between lives. So many times people want to remember what or who they were in the past, but many times they don't focus as much on the possibility of remembering how they were preparing, planning, studying to get ready
to this physical life.
To this physical life. So many times I say that we should try to have recollections of our period between lives to know what we should be doing here. And we should try to remember past lives to know exactly what we should not be repeating here
the
again
same mistakes.
and again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All of this information that they are getting, they're going to be able to put it in practice, once they come to another physical life. Indeed.
What is the point of all this? Why do you keep dying? Why do you die? Why do you keep dying and then coming back? And then what's the end point?
Yes. Again, not that we understand all the, everything here, but what we see in terms of the benefits of this is that, for example, again, like school days, because this period of disconnecting from the physical life and spending time reflecting about the capacities and the abilities that you have already acquired, and even thinking about what is the logical next step in my development, seems to be very helpful than just continuing in one life, sort of like endlessly to a certain extent. So That you observe. Now, another thing, obviously, with the physical body, maybe another thing is that you have to live with the limitations of the physical body in the sense that it doesn't seem to last forever, right? So even a good physical life of 90, 100 years, eventually ends. And then you go, you prepare, you get a brand new vehicle for having experiences
To learn
and
more.
learning.
But I mean, what's the end point? Is this a part of evolution, or?
It is certainly evolution. The objective seems to be evolution, the betterment of the individual, the refinement of the
At
individual.
what point does this evolution stop?
There comes a point in which you see, that you start to not be able to understand what is happening. Maybe sometimes the analogy would be like when you have a kid that is on 3rd grade and he doesn't understand when his older brother who is in high school already or on college is going to stop studying because he doesn't get it at that moment.
I think the reason we're here in relation to purpose is that I used to believe that everybody has a unique purpose. And I still believe that. But I also believe there's an overarching purpose. And I think that for me, it's about learning. It's about growth and mastery. And that we're here to master something, master our emotions, master our thoughts, master our ability to relate and connect to people.
These cycles will continue until at last the demigod will have reached the pinnacle of life, Noah. That's when it has learned everything it could possibly learn from its existence here on this planet. In her short, sweet life, in this short cycle, Maddie had at least 2 major missions on Earth. One was to learn the lessons she needed to learn in this go-round. Only Maddie knows what those lessons were now. The other was to give you the most precious of all gifts. She wanted to teach you the value of selfless service. Yes. She taught you how to give. She helped you give these kids another chance at life. She taught you the virtue of giving. Even if this giving meant that you had to say goodbye to Maddie. The most precious thing in your life.
I really believe the reason we're here is to express love, to learn how to love, to learn how to overcome our obstacles to love. And when we do that, we also experience joy.
And then we find joy, and then we find peace. And that's what we're here to learn in Classroom Earth.
My little one, I love you with all my heart. I know you have your own journey to walk. But I also know there may be things you may forget along the way as you grow older. But I hope you will remember to always listen to your heart, because love will always guide your way. Love will always heal your wounds. And most importantly, do your best to choose love, not fear. Little one, you've come into this world to learn this. But if you ever need a reminder, I'm here for you. I love you dearly.
It's been said that illness and pain are the best teachers in life. Pain and illness are parts and parcels of human destiny. You may not realize it, they say, but every time you get sick, you change for the better and grow stronger. When children get sick, it not only helps them, but also everyone else around them. By going through the trials and tribulations of an illness, the parent eventually grows stronger and become wiser. A time will come when humans no longer need to get sick in order to grow. There's a vast ocean of wisdom inside every human being. But to reach it, you need to dig far and deep. The key to the ultimate cure is inside you. This is the greatest human mystery. No doctor or medicine on earth can be a substitute for the slumbering forces that are hidden deep within. The first step to unraveling this mystery is to wake up and start digging. You need to dig long and wide, tooth and nail, to realize who you are and why you are here on earth.
Did they teach you that in medical school, Noah?
So, how do I transform my bodies?
Not so fast, Maddie. We'll start with the Demigod. I'll show you how.
According to the ancient legends, the holy grail of cure is within you. It's called